What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And in this video, we have the treasure map preparation video. Now, do note I am a little ill right now, so hopefully we're able to get this video out without too many errors. And of course, this is going to be the more accessible team. So this has a couple of units that are summonable, and has majority free-to-play characters that are aiming to take on this treasure map against Franky. This is looking to be a pretty bad treasure map in terms of the gimmicks that we have to, take on. And we pretty much say that every treasure map these days. It just feels like since the merge with the Japanese version of the game, the treasure maps have become a lot more difficult, and it makes it a lot more harder for a lot more, free-to-play or, just a lot of players out there. Even for players that pull the units, some of these boss fights are just absolutely ridiculous. But before we jump into the actual treasure map teams itself, I want to talk about the new Franky and give you guys a bit of a rundown in terms of what he does, because he actually looks pretty good. So Franky's a Psi-Fighter shooter, pretty good classes there, and then his captain ability provides -1 cooldown at the start, also boosts the crew's attack by 1.75 for 2 turns at the start of Battle 3, so this is something that we haven't seen before. This is basically saying when you reach the 3rd stage, you get a 2-turn 1.75 attack boost, which I believe is a buff that gets applied to your team. It's not a multiplier that multiplies into his withstanding captain ability. So that's kind of interesting. So you can use it on certain fights where enemies, react to certain abilities. It's just overall a pretty interesting captain ability. But then he also will give your Psi and Dex characters a 3.75 times attack boost naturally with a 1.35 HP. And also makes Psi and Dex slots beneficial. It's a pretty good free-to-play captain, no real complaints from me. This is actually pretty solid overall. Now, his special ability, 13-turn cooldown, will reduce the cooldowns of Psi and Dex by 2 turns, and then does 20 hits of random side damage to random enemies. So that also could be a little bit useful, especially when you're up against like a combo hit barrier. Being able to just completely destroy it is actually pretty good. And then he also removes defense up, the blue shield debuff, or the blue shield buff on the enemy by 6 turns. And then he also gives you a 3.5 chain lock for 2 turns. But then he says if you already have a chain lock when you launch the special, he extends the duration of that chain lock by 1, and then gives that chain lock a 0.25 increase. This is a fantastic special ability. It means if you use double Franky, you can get like a 3.75 chain lock for 3 turns. It's actually kind of nice. But also, this actually works with chain boundaries. So if you have a chain boundary, you can use this to extend the duration of the chain boundary and also make the chain boundary more powerful. So I actually really like this Franky. Just overall amazing sets of skills. Also resisting 2 turns of special reverse is fantastic. He also makes the whole crew immune to blindness. That's so good. And then he also has the quick damage reduction, barrier penetration, and he has ship bind duration removal. And his support effect is probably the only downside to the unit. It's just a really bad HP boosting support. So unfortunately, a little bit of a downside in terms of that, but the character itself is good. His PvP stuff, speed and attack level 5 up to Psi characters, 25 CT for guard percent up and defense up. Okay, you're not using him in Rumble, but in regular content, he's pretty good. So now that we've gone through that, let's go ahead now and actually talk about each of these teams for the treasure map. And here we are with the first battle against Carrot, and she is an int character, and on the first battle we have a special cooldown of -5 to all characters. So this is, the pretty typical fight that we're come to used to, where battle 1 is basically just a whatever fight, bring whatever characters you want. Now, when you reach Battle 3, your beneficial effects are removed, you're given 2 turns of Special Bind, and your crewmates are inflicted with 1 hit of Fear. And also, there is 1 turn of Hunger, and there is a 2.3 attack down chain effect. So, the way that you're supposed to get around it is by having the Limit Break Expanded Psi Straw Hats. That's what they're suggesting to use here. So, because of Luffy, he actually gets access to Hunger. Now, remember, it is only 1 hit of Hunger. So, as long as you have the ability active, you're going to be able to remove the 1 hit of Hunger. And then, in terms of the Special Bind and the Fear Resistance, they are suggesting you to use Usopp. Now, Usopp has 1 hit of Fear. That's all you need, just with the ability activated. His special ability ability removes 2 turns of special bind, he resists 2 turns of special bind, and then in terms of the chain locking effect, that's why you have Sanji, and then the Zoro and the Franky provide orb boost and color affinity respectively. You've also got Sanji for chain lock, you've got Luffy for attack boost and orb manipulation. The Sai Straw Hats are comfortably taking on this fight. Now, the next boss is against Kalifa, who is a Sai character, and characters that are driven, powerhouse, and shooter are the characters that actually receive the cooldown on this fight. On Battle 3 though, there's going to be a preemptive of your slots being changed into either block slots or poison slots, which means you need good orb change, and you also need an ability to get rid of poison in order to remove those poison slots. You're also given special bind to your crewmates only, so if your captain resists special bind or your captain has a special that removes special bind, that is a way to get around it. There is defense down immunity, and there is also 5 turns of increased defense, so you need a special that can outright remove defense up, not a defense reduction. There is also 5 turns of resilience and a 1-hit 30-hit combo barrier, a 1-turn 30-hit combo barrier. So there's a lot going on here, but this is where the Magellan and Hannibal are very useful because they remove the defense up. They also remove 1 turn of barrier, and they also they apply a conditional boost, a poison conditional boost, which is pretty good. You've got the Gecko Moria, which can get rid of the special bind, get rid of the resilience, and also provide you like a chain boost and stuff like that. We've got a Kaino in this team because he does give us a full board of matching slots, and he's also an attack or an orb booster depending on what we want. And then we've also got Shiryu, who is a color affinity booster, and also he removes poison, so we can use him to get rid of the poison slots, which is fantastic. And then Kaido's an attack booster as well. So as you can see, pretty straightforward, as long as you have Moria and also Magellan and Hannibal, and then some type of way to remove poison, whether it be with Shiryu on your team, or you have Shiryu as a support character on your team. Those are the ways you want to get around this specific fight. So we're moving on to the third fight now. Now I want to preface this team by saying that this team is aiming to use Black Maria, Legend Black Maria, as a friend captain in order to get through it. And I know a lot of people are going to be upset about that, but it's just the way that makes this team easier. Because you'll see that with the preemptive, empty block and bomb slots are given to your team. Black Maria with her special changes all of those into matching. You're given 8 turns of paralysis. Black Maria as a captain resists 10 turns of paralysis. And then also there's going to be a chain multiply growth rate reduction, so you want some type of way to give yourself a chain lock. And that's why I'm suggesting to use the X-Drake character here. He's actually pretty good because when you use his special ability, if you've got like 3 or more quick characters on your team, he will change slots into matching, which you already do anyway. But he also gives you a chain lock, and when you naturally launch his special, he removes damage nullification, which is what Nami has. For one turn, she actually has damage nullification. And there's not a lot of characters in the game that can actually remove it. However, there are actually 3 boosted characters in this treasure map that actually remove it, which is crazy. You've got the X-Drake on the team. Also, the Jack character on this team removes it. And also Int Rare Recruit Pudding. All 3 of those characters can be used to remove damage immunity. However, there is defense down immunity, so you can't apply a defense down conditional. But if you are using Black Maria as a friend captain, her special ability delays the enemy and gives you a delayed conditional boost. So the thing is you can just use her special and then stall a turn if you wanted to go down that route as well, just depending on what you want to do. But by utilizing Black Maria as a friend captain, it does ultimately make this fight ridiculously easy. And then we move on to the final Battle Rush fight, which is against Robin, who is a Dex character. Once again, I want to preface this team by saying that we are going to be using Who's Who as the friend captain, Legend Who's Who, because of one particular reason, and that is the fact that on this battle, there is going to be an attack down depending on your chain multiplier, and the value that you have to reach is 3.5. Now this actually means that if you have a chain lock, let's say, that is exactly 3.5, you're still not going to get rid of that attack down. You actually have to exceed a 3.5 chain multiplier. And there's not a lot of good characters in this treasure map that can give you a really high chain lock of that caliber, or characters that are really good chain boosters. However, Who's Who is one of those characters. His special ability provides a really significant chain multiplier boost, so by using that, it allows you to get your chain really high to break through that attack down chain effect. This is a ridiculous fight. But also, there's 8 turns of Bind and Despair to your top row, which sucks. There's also 5 turns of regular attack down, and 5 turns of Rainbow Shield % damage reduction. Now, one of the really good characters in this fight is Halloween Morley. This character's kind of crazy because he removes so many different debuffs. He gets rid of the Despair, he gets rid of the attack down, and he gets rid of the % damage reduction. So the only thing you have to remove outside of this is Bind, which is why I have Roger on the team. But of course, you could use some type of support effect if you wanted to do that. Roger with double special activation will allow us to get around that bind, which is pretty good. And then, as we said, Who's Who is the friend captain, which provides us with the chain multiply boost. We have the Oven, which provides us a full board of matching slots, gives us an orb boosting effect. We have Chopper that gives us an attack boost. Yeah, it's a pretty finicky team, not going to lie about that. Very, very finicky team, but does get the job done, ultimately. And now we've reached the final boss versus Boa Hancock, but there is the Intrusion boss, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But I want to preface this once again by saying that the friend captain for this battle is going to be the new treasure map rare recruit Nami, as she just provides a lot of really good things for our crew, plus a 2x point booster, cannot disregard that. But characters that are fighter, striker, or cerebral receive that minus cooldown. On battle 2, there's going to be block slots, 5 turns of attack down, 5 turns of special bind, and there is damage immunity, but it's only to characters that are strength, quick, and int. So ideally, you build a team of Dex and Psi characters and you can completely ignore the damage immunity. And there's going to be a perfect barrier. You have to hit 2 perfects to pierce the barrier, which is pretty annoying. Now, the way that we're getting around that is that we're using Beppo's special ability, which allows us to get around the special bind. Again, it's pretty finicky because Beppo isn't boosted by either of the captains, so it's not the best idea, but there's not a lot really going for a lot of players in this treasure map to begin with. Then we're using Robin, who gets rid of the block slots, and she gets rid of 3 turns of attack down, but with the support of Franky, it gets rid of an additional 2 turns of attack down, so that's great. We get a full board of slots, we get rid of the attack down. We got rid of the special bind with the Beppo, and Beppo actually does give us a full board of tandem slots too, which is pretty good. And then we can just attack, plus we use the special ability of Nami, which does provide us with an orb boosting effect. Then we move on to battle 3. Now we get a full board of int slots here, and we can treat them as beneficial by using the special ability of X Drake, who's really good. There's going to be 8 turns of bind, which goes down to 5 with sockets. There's going to be a chain multiply growth rate reduction for 12 turns, so you basically need to bring a chain locking effect. There's going to be 5 turns of paralysis as well, and perfects are more difficult to hit, as well as there being another perfect barrier. Just lots of really terrible stuff happening on this battle. But by using Luffy, we can get rid of the bind, because he gets rid of 5 turns of bind, and he also gives us a chain locking effect, 2.75 times for, I think it's 1 turn. And then we have Sabo, which gets rid of the paralysis, and that's actually just a fantastic effect in and of itself. And then Drake does also give us an orb boosting effect. So I believe this should be enough damage, but again, I'm not really too sure how much or how long this team is going to be lasting for. You could definitely put in a couple of supports, like a color affinity support or something like that, or potentially switching out Beppo for something a little bit more powerful, but you definitely need someone on battle 2 to remove some special bind for you. So probably not the most optimal team out there for sure, but I believe this team will be able to get the job done against Boa Hancock. Definitely a really, really tricky fight. And now here we are with the Intrusion battle versus Franky. Once again, I'm going to preface this by saying that the friend captain for this fight is not going to be Nami. It's not going to be the highest booster. The way that this team that I've built works is going to be using Bon Clay as the friend captain. You may think it's weird, but it should get the job done. I believe this team is actually not too bad and should be pretty solid. Marco works pretty well with this team as our main captain, as we'll talk about in just a moment. But let's talk about Battle 2. Battle 2, we get 6 turns of bind, so it goes down to 3 when we count in sockets, and then we have the Ace support on Luffy, which gets rid of the additional 3 turns of bind. Now, for 5 turns, Strength Dex and Quick Slots are going to be unfavorable, which is a pretty big bummer. That really does hurt us. We're going to be using Sanji on this stage to change adjacent slots into matching, so Sabo is not going to have a matching slot. Luffy and then the friend captain Bon Clay will have a matching slot, but we also get the 2.5 chain lock. How many turns is that for again? It is for 2 turns, and that's going to be quite key, right? So another thing that we're going to do is we're going to use the Drake special, because Drake does allow us to lock slots, but it also gives us an orb boosting effect, and because of the support effect of Sasaki, we do get a little bit of damage reduction. So that's going to be also pretty key, because what happens is when we actually knock out the Battle 2 boss is that the enemy will fully recover and they do 100,000 damage to our team. So with Sasaki, it gives us 30% damage reduction, which means that we take still 70,000 damage. If you count in for sockets, it goes down by an additional 7,000. So it ends up being around 60,000 damage that we tank, and I sincerely hope it's enough HP. Marco does provide an HP boost, I believe, as a captain. He does boost fighter and powerhouse characters, which is actually really, really good. Yeah, he does boost HP by 1.4, and I believe Bon Clay provides a boost of some kind. I believe it's a 1.2, 1.3 type boost. Yeah, he does a 1.3 multiplier to HP, so that will be enough to tank, I do believe. And then we are also going to use Marco's special on Battle 2. But what happens is when he fully revives, that's when we are still going to have the Orb Boost from Drake, we're still going to have the Chain Lock from Sanji, and then we are going to be using the Super Class Special of Marco. Marco's attack boost also does last for 2 turns, so we're going to have that in the following turn as well. But by using the Super Class on the Revive turn, it means when we move on to Battle 3, he's automatically going to launch his special on the first turn of Battle 3, which is great, because it means we're going to get that big attack boost once again. Because when we reach Battle 3, there's lots of nasty debuffs once again. He'll either become a quick unit, or he'll become an int unit, which means that by having Bon Clay as a friend captain, we can always have another really powerful unit that will attack for super effective damage. And there's going to be block slots, and there's going to be another attack down effect, but it's only to strength, quick, and int characters. And there's going to be special bind, there's going to be paralysis, and there's going to be hunger. There's lots of nasty stuff. The hunger in particular is why I am suggesting to use Bon Clay here, because Bon Clay obviously has the hunger removal inbuilt with himself, and also he does give you a full board of recovery slots, which we are going to be using to our advantage. Now we need to get rid of the special bind, so we use the Luffy to get rid of the special bind. We have Sabo to get rid of the paralysis, and then Bon Clay will change all of the slots into recovery, change into whatever typing he wants to get type advantage. And ideally, we still have the Marco effect that would have activated, which gives us a pretty substantial attack boost on the final battle. So it's not the highest point boosting team that you can get for sure on the battle versus Franky, but I do believe that this team should be able to provide you with the damage to just beat the content in and of itself. Definitely a very, very annoying set of treasure map characters. So with all that being said, that is going to wrap up this One Piece Treasure Cruise video. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this one, and if you guys did enjoy it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.